Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different type of video. As some of you may not know, I have recently graduated high school and it has made me reflect on all of the books that I have been told I have to read in my English curriculum throughout the years, and I've been thinking about, the ones I hate, the ones I love, and I thought it would be kind of interesting to make a little video for you guys and share with you my top 10 favorite books that I had to read during high school English. I've also created a bonus list of middle school favorites as well because those were some of my all-time favorite books. I just personally think it's fun to, think about it, reflect back on it. Like, what did I read freshman year? What did I read sophomore year? And I encourage you guys to do the same. Like, think about it. What did I read when I was in high school? What did I read when I was in middle school? What did I like? What did I not like? And, would you like it now as an adult? Or all that kind of stuff. I just think it's really fun to think about. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and share with you guys my 10 favorite books that I read during high school. Starting with my freshman year, I had 4 favorites from this year out of the whole 10. So most of my favorites, it looks like, were from freshman year, which is pretty interesting. Thinking back on it, I wouldn't have thought that, like, freshman year was my favorite year in English because it definitely wasn't my favorite teacher. But my first favorite is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. That was one that I just remember really, really liking, and I remember nobody else in my class was like a big fan of it, but I just thought it was so interesting. I loved Ray Bradbury's writing, and I just thought it was such a fascinating, like, intriguing read, and I really, really loved it. Next book on my list is Night by Elie Wiesel, which actually wasn't during the school year that we read, but it was the summer reading book that I read from 8th to 9th grade. So, like, after I got out of 8th grade, I had to read this during the summer, and I remember really, really enjoying it. As I've said a couple times on my channel before, I really enjoy realistic historical fiction, but I don't get around to reading it a lot, and Night is a really amazing historical fiction novel about the Holocaust, about this little boy, and it is such an amazing read. I'd love to go back and reread it. I don't know where my copy went. This is back, like, when I did not treat my books with care, but I would love to reread that book. I really, really enjoyed it. If you're into historical fiction, I definitely recommend it. Next favorite is Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, and I just remember really, really enjoying this book. I remember there was books in high school that I obviously, like, didn't really read and, like, spark noted through all of them, but this is a book that I remember, like, being excited to read the chapters, and I really enjoyed it, and I loved the story. And it was just one that I really liked, I don't know. And the last one is not a novel, but it was a play, and it is called A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry, and I remember really liking this one. It was about a black family living in New York, and I forget the time period, but it was like about their struggles and about them living their lives, and just, I don't know, but I just remember really liking it, and I really liked reading plays in high school because I really enjoyed, like, getting apart and, like, getting to all read together as a class. I always thought that was super fun. Those are the types of things that I find fun, right? But I just thought it was, like, an enjoyable experience to all get to read together, and I just remember really enjoying this specific play. Moving on to 10th grade, there was only one book that I really liked, and that was Lord of the Flies by William Golding, which is just a classic. It's amazing. I really, really enjoyed it. I know some people think it's boring or just don't like it, but personally, I remember really enjoying Lord of the Flies, especially in comparison to everything else I read in 10th grade. I clearly didn't like anything else, but Lord of the Flies was the first book we read that year, and I remember really liking it. My junior year of high school, I read The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which was, I think, my favorite book that I read all of high school, and I think a lot of high schoolers will agree with me on that one because it's just a really fun book, and everyone's, like, seen the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, so it kind of makes it more appealing to want to read that book because it's like, it's a Leonardo DiCaprio movie, why wouldn't it be good? But I just really liked that one. It's a great novel, and I love F. Scott Fitzgerald's writing in it, so that's obviously number 1 on my list. And another one that I read during 11th grade is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, which is one that I think a lot of people look at and they're like, that's still being taught in high schools. People are still reading Huck Finn, and they think it's, like, the most boring book ever, but I personally really enjoyed it, and this is another one that I remember, like, most of my class was like, no, like, why do you like this book? It's terrible, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I don't really know why. It's not that it was, like, the most interesting, enthralling book ever, but I just really enjoyed it for some reason. I don't know. I can't really tell you what it is that, like, really grabbed me with Huck Finn, but I just remember it being one of the books in high school that I liked, so it's on my list. And the last one on my 11th grade list is The Awakening by Kate Chopin, which, now that I'm thinking about it, is another one of those books that, like, none of my class liked, but I really enjoyed. But now that I think about it, I think I was the only one that, like, enjoyed reading in all of my classes, so that's a thing. But I really liked The Awakening. The Awakening follows this woman who's very unhappy with her life, despite the fact that she's really wealthy and has a husband and, is living a wonderful life to most people, but she really hates her life and she's depressed and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people in my class didn't really like it because they thought that she was so stuck up, and it was like, why are you complaining? You have a great life. But I remember really liking it, and it was an enjoyable book for me. Moving on to senior year, which was this past year for me. The first one is kind of different because it's a nonfiction, but it is Nickel and Dimed by Barbara Ehrenreich. This book follows a woman who tries to live off of minimum wage, and this book, I believe, was made in like 2005 or something, and so this book follows her trying to make a living off minimum wage, which obviously isn't that possible. She barely scrapes by if you read the book. It's really interesting, but she barely scrapes by, and this is back in 2005, and the fact that it's still pretty relevant to like us in 2016, kind of scary, but it's a really great book. I really recommend it. It gave me a lot of perspective and just insight into the life of somebody living a minimum wage job, multiple jobs. This woman like got a lot of jobs and worked them and still didn't have enough money, but it was a really interesting book and I really recommend it if you're into nonfiction and stuff like that. And the last book on my high school list is kind of a surprise, and when I was like figuring out which books I was going to put in this video, this one kept popping up in my mind and I was like, am I going to include this? Am I going to include this? But I decided I wanted to, and that is Hamlet by William Shakespeare, which is obviously a play. And I never thought, if you asked me freshman year, like, Laura, one of your top 10 books that you read in high school is going to be a Shakespeare, you know, play, I would have been like, you thought, like, no. But I actually really enjoyed Hamlet. All of the other Shakespearean plays that I've read, I've disliked. Romeo and Juliet, disliked. The Twelfth Night, disliked. Julius Caesar, disliked. I've hated all of them. But I really liked Hamlet. I don't know what it was about it, but I just thought it was really fun and interesting and, you know, I don't know. So those are the top 10 books that I read in high school, and to share with you guys 3 more books that I read during middle school. The first one is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, which I read in 8th grade, and it is absolutely one of my all-time favorite books. I loved it so much. I remember in 8th grade, I was like obsessed. Like, obsessed. I was obsessed with the book. I was obsessed with the movie. I was obsessed with all of the actors in the movie. I was crazy. Everyone in my class was like, you good? Like, all I could talk about were The Outsiders, and I loved it so much. That's definitely like my favorite book I've read in all of my schooling thus far, but yeah, I love The Outsiders. Second one is The Giver by Lois Lowry, and that one I read in 6th grade, so my first year of middle school. Obviously, this is a book that's even popular just amongst young adult readers, so the fact that I read it as a middle school curriculum book is kind of fun, and I just really enjoyed it, obviously. Loved The Giver. I've read it multiple times now. And the last one is another that I read in 8th grade, and that is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I hope this video is enjoyable for you guys and inspired you to maybe think back to what you were reading in high school, or, you know, just think back to things you've read in the past and your opinions on them. I'd love to hear about some of your favorites that you read during high school, so make sure to leave me a comment down below. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you've not already. But anyways, I hope you are all having an absolutely wonderful day, and I'll talk to you all in the next video. Bye!